Yeah, it's bright. Thank you all for staying. I'll make sure you get a chance to ask Valérie some questions. But I'll start with a couple. You've described this film and Nana as sort of being part of a series or a trilogy of films. Nana, for those of you who haven't seen it, was about a very young, a child, three-year-old? Four. And this is about a teenager,
17, yeah.
young mother. And I gather that the other film is going to be about an adolescent?
It's going backwards.
Okay. So can you talk about your interest in these particular ages and why you wanted to make these films?
Hi. Thanks for staying with us. It's about transition ages when people, humans, don't really belong, don't really have a place in the world. So when you're like 4 or 3, or depends where you come from socially, but you're not domesticated yet, and so you're still this like savage animal, and you're not really a child. 11, 13, it's the same. And plus there's like, you know, a sex and a body that you don't know what's going on. And one morning you wake up and the world tells you that you're responsible, and the day before you were a child. And teenage motherhood is the same thing, because I don't know, I think I'm really attracted to this because there's a fragility, an extreme fragility in these moments in people's life. And with extreme fragility comes extreme strength or resilience. And I'm interested in resilience and how human like bounce when, you know, I mean in suffering you can like fall down or bounce. And I know only people who bounce, and I think we all do. So, yeah.
In both films, you've worked with I guess what people call non-professional actors. I don't know what your preferred term is.
I call them people.
People. You've worked with real people. I assume it. I'm curious, I guess, about how you find them, and then also the relationship that you build with them.
But I think I'm very slow. And I'm a manual person and not an intellectual person. I mean, it doesn't mean I'm stupid, but I'm not. It doesn't. I understand with my body I understand with my body. So I look for places. I found all the places. I always, I find the places. I found the people. I work with them, and the more I touch them, whether really touch them or touch them with a camera, or I understand what I'm doing. And I work with people because I can't, first it's a political choice. I mean, I have nothing against, making a film with a fancy actress that lives in a really fancy apartment and has lots of money and plays a poor girl. I understand that you can do that. I don't want to do that. I want to get the poor girl and give her visibility. So that's my first choice. And also because then it's also very personal. It's because I come from low class, and I was very lucky. I was very stubborn, but I was very lucky as well. And I'm very conscious of both. And the little tiny power that I have, I want to give it back. And when I give Severine or Kelina this, it really changed things for them, for real. Mm-hmm. And so I don't feel like a vampire. I don't feel like I'm just coming into their life and making my films and then bye. Kelina, now she's 11, and the next film I hope she'll be in. And there's a responsibility. I mean, when you work with actors, you pay them and you work and voilà. when you come in people's life, you have a responsibility.
Yeah.
Or I feel I have a responsibility. Maybe it's a woman thing, but I don't know.
So with Severine, how did you find her, and was the film already fully written at that point? Did you evolve it based on who you cast?
No, I wrote a script that I write like Nana, like a fake script to go get money, and then I never open it again. So there was no love story in the script. She ran away from you don't know where, and same as them. And she would end up in this hotel in the middle of nowhere in front of the ocean, and then it was the whole story of a parallel between an older woman and her. Voilà. And there was 3 movements, pregnant. I mean, you didn't know she was pregnant, and she was learning work, and then she was pregnant, and then there was the kid. And then I met Luc, and everything changed. But everything changed until the end. I mean, the construction of the film, and the film is done on the editing table, so it moves, it changes until the end, until the last minute. Even the poster, I changed the poster 2 weeks ago. I did a drawing and it changed. And Severine, I because I went there a lot, and I went to shelters for young girls and beat up women. That's how you call them?
Battered women, yeah.
Battered women. And I showed Nana. And I met a lot of them, and then because I did the film with my son is filming. And we distributed flyers like at the market, everywhere in the city, in the villages, everywhere. And we saw 60 girls with children, because I wanted a girl with a child, because I didn't want to cheat that. I didn't mind cheating the pregnancy. That's like a prop that any film can have. But the relations with the kid was really important to me, because it was the relation of 2 children.
That, in case people didn't catch it in the credit, that is actually Severine's son in the film. But yeah.
I mean, he's a photocopy of her. They look completely, I mean, really. If you didn't get it, sorry, but...
So you decided on her based on what? What drew you to her?
It was obvious she was a pain in the ass. And she was gonna
That's how you described Kalina as well.
I am
Your
a pain in the
4-year-old.
ass. I need a pain in the ass in front of me. I need someone who's not... I need a woman or a girl, and really whether she's 4 years old or 17 or 85.
What does that mean? Somebody who resists, or like...
Somebody who doesn't fit, or doesn't... A woman or a girl who doesn't agree. Who says no before yes. And you can tell, even her body is already saying this. She walked in, and my son knows me, I mean, he's my son. And she walked in, and Mel looked at me, and he was like, We knew immediately, really, because she, and like Kalina, she lied, she told bullshit, she would like staring you in the eyes and completely lying, and she's lying. And it's wonderful. I mean, it's, and I knew she was not gonna, I need someone who can resist me, because maybe I'm a horrible person, I don't know. I'm a very generous person, but I have no patience for stupidity, like none, and like real stupidity. Mm-hmm. Not non-education, that's another, stupidity is something very different. So I need someone that has that resilience and has that survival instinct and has that, strength. It's a strength. Because that's what we work on. I mean, that's what the film is about. That's how you fall down and yeah, you're bleeding and you go like this and you get up back up and you don't cry, you don't have time because you have to keep on.
How did that quality of hers translate to the process of working with her or directing her? I mean, with Nana, you're like directing a 4-year-old. It's a totally different, I imagine, situation.
No, it's actually the same. I thought it was going to be very different because I was With Kelina, we just played. I mean, I can be 4-year-old very fast. So that was really easy for me. And with Severine, I was very, very anxious. No, but I was a little anxious because I think at that age, there's a self-consciousness and of your image, of what you don't want to show about yourself, what you want to show, you know. But then at the end of the day, it was the same thing. Also because I don't give them, you know, I don't give them a script, I don't give them lines apart from the letter or the poem or very specific things, but in the sequences I give them lots of toys to play with, objects, which to me are very important. They're not props, they're all, you know, very specific. And to occupy their body so that and I give them action, I don't give them any like psychological or emotional, because I don't know where it's going to be in the film, because the film is going to be, the construction comes after. So it was very similar. And it was harder because she was more resisting and afraid, and she was more afraid.
Yeah. Maybe we can talk a bit about the construction, which I think it's interesting to hear you say that all of it comes after the fact, because I think what the film does with time is so complex, you know, because you have these long durational scenes where you're just watching them in everyday moments, but then the film also takes these like very large, like elliptical, like leaps, you know, and I think the way it immerses you in moments, and then the way it also like actually conveys the passing of time is I think a big part of the power of the film. And with Nana it's different because that's a film that unfolds over the course of a few days. And here there's like a sense of like, yeah, and you don't really know at first, you know, like the things that happen within a cut are quite mysterious sometimes.
That's because I trust you. No, but I mean, you know, I think when I said I was a pain in the ass, I really mean it, and it's my way of being a pain in the ass. I can't watch I mean, I can because I'm not completely stupid, so I can make the effort to watch most of the films. But I find most of them very insulting to my intelligence, or to my humanity, or to my emotions, or to my sensitivity, because it's not leaving me any space to be and to feel and to think and to drift away and come back, and you know, and I need time, and I think humans need time, and these societies that we built, and of course every industry, because cinema is an industry, they follow the society, and me, I can't. So you know, because when it's incredible. I mean, we have to realize that when you say a sequence is really long, I mean, the longest sequence in the film is the song, and it's 3 minutes something. The other sequences, they're like 1 minute 20. I mean, seriously, like,
Yeah, but
take
compared to other films, it's like.
Yeah, but I mean, in your life and in your, you know, in your rhythm of life, I'm sorry, I'm gonna be impolite, but what the fuck is 1 minute 20? It's like nothing, you know. It doesn't. It's like this. That's what you do. You go have breakfast, and you're eating your eggs with your bacon, and there's this old lady who's trying to cross, and it's snowing outside, and she's really like, you know, like awkward, and you're watching her, and this lasts actually 2 minutes in your life, you know. But in a cinema, it has to be. But that's television. That's what television did. I'm drifting away. Sorry. It makes me really angry. What was the question?
No, I think you answered it. I wanted to ask about just this. I think it's a really great film about work, in a way. I feel like it's a film that I don't really see work depicted very much in cinema. It's like a kind of it's like, you know, a big taboo subject. It's like an invisible thing in most films. And can you talk about that decision, and also the particular? You talked about yourself being like a manual person, and like, you know, and like and that's what we see with the character. There's so much of her, like folding clothes and ironing and vacuuming and cooking food, and like this emphasis on process and physical action. The decision to make that so much of a part of what we see her doing.
Well, I think it's a whole film about invisible people. All of them, they're invisible. They're, you know, socially they're invisible because they come from working class, and working class is, you know, no value in this world. So, you know, this old man said, "Oh, but why don't you have clients in the hotel?" I'm like, I don't give a shit about clients. I'm talking about this woman that you don't see when you go to a hotel, and they actually make the place possible for you to. They make your bed, they pick up, you know, your. It's very strange to be a maid in a hotel. I did that job, and you walk in an incredible intimacy. Like the guy left his knicker on the floor. You don't know him. He doesn't have a face. He doesn't have a body, and it's, you know. And all of them. I mean, these two kids, they're invisible because they have nothing, and then these women working in this hotel, they have nothing, they don't exist, and you know. So, and work is, because there's so much in the, because I'm really touched by body language. For me, it says much more than, I trust body language or instinct or animal behavior much more than any words, even though I'm talking a lot. But I really do. And for me, it says so much more. I mean, you know, because you can't cheat with your body. You can't. I mean, I know, like, if you, okay, I'm itching like this, and I'm going like that. I'm super nervous. I'm super shy. I'm talking like I really know my shit. But for real, I'm really shy, and I'm doing all this. If you look at my body, that's what, you know, so. And I'm fascinated by this, and I have so much respect for people that, you know, these men went on the fishing boat. Yeah. It took me like 4 months because they were like, "Who is this crazy girl with a camera?" And like, they didn't want me to get on the boat, so they found like every excuse is possible, like the weather, this, that, da, da. But I would come every night at 6, like. And at one point they said, "Okay, you can come." And I was by myself. And all the shots that are without Luc, I did alone, completely. And we left at like 8 and came back, left at 6 and came back at 8 the next morning. And I didn't even see time. I was working, because I had to find, like, see how they worked. I knew the basic of how it functioned, but I didn't know, you know. And I had to figure out where I could have Luc intervene without disturbing the work, because these men are working. And I filmed all night, and I slept like 2 hours on the bench, like, you know, I didn't sleep. And the next morning they said, "Okay, you can come back with your actor because you work, you know, you're a working girl, you're not like, you know." So, voila, it's like, and you have no idea how, I mean, these men go out every day except 1 day a week. And physically, I don't know how the sound was there, but at the mix, we put a lot of the bass and the sub bass. So that's physically, it's supposed to shake your body. And when you're on that boat, really after 2 days and 2 nights, you want to die. Yeah. No, seriously, it's like so violent, like you want it to stop, and it doesn't stop. And work is, I don't know, it's our absurdity, but it's also our survival.
So you mentioned body language, and I'm thinking of the sequence in the hotel with, you know, with Severine and the character played by you, and barely a word is exchanged between the two of them until, you know, the last scene in your character's apartment, really, and it says so much about what these two women might mean to each other without a single word being exchanged. I'm wondering if you can talk about just the conceptualization of that passage and your decision to be in it? Because, as you said in the original script, I think I actually read this treatment where you described it as a much older
because
woman.
that's how I got Radcliffe.
But you had a, how did it become what we see in the film?
It was supposed to be, I had to find another woman, but then because Severine was really more resistant than I thought she was going to be. At one point, the first thing we did together was, it's actually the sequence that's in the film with the cookies, when I'm ironing, and at the end, because I really, when I tell her, like, okay, you're short and pregnant, but you're not handicapped, and that's how I talk. And that's how I talked to her. So at the end, she just looked at me and said, "Oh, you just want me to be with you?" And I say, "Yeah, to be with me, or to be with Luc, or to be. That's all I want. I don't want you. You can't act. You're not an actress. If I want an actress, I take an actress. I just, And so that was a way to break. Also, so that's why I'm in the film, and also because I think it was interesting. This movement of like the relation I can have behind the camera in front is actually the same, and I thought that was I don't intellectualize. I can like start making sentences, but it's all fake. It's like I don't think I know physically, and so that's how it happened. And as for when she's folding the clothes or cleaning in the bathroom with her, I know she does. I know she doesn't know how to do it, but I know she's gonna put all her heart in it. And me, I wanna. When I watch it, even now, even though I can't watch the film because I edited it and I can't see it. But these two sequences and a few others, the song in the hotel, and a few others, I can watch. I can see like you see it without any analyze. And I want to hug her. And this fragility that she has, this like childlike, I find beautiful because there's so many like mean film that would like either judge her or mock her, or it would be like always on the edge. And there's no edge. It's like either you're gone because you're super bored, or you're really there and you want to protect her. And this fragility is beautiful. This kid is just like all of us. Like, you're not prepared for the absurdity and the violence of this world, and the work and the the modern slavery. So I find it really beautiful.
Okay, I'll just ask one more, and then we'll take a couple audience questions. I wanted you to talk about this. I guess the passages in the film that I'm not exactly sure how to describe them because they're all slightly different. But like the passages that depart from realism, I guess, whether they're dream-like or fantasy or more poetic, but there are these very clear passages, and I think Nana also had them, but this, this balance that you're striking between what is, for the most part, a more or less realist in a very concrete film with these more dreamlike moments.
For me, there's no realism, and these kids are like in their 20s, and there's not a mobile phone or an iPad or any, so it's already a decision that's not realistic. As for the more like oniric, you say oniric? Maybe, I don't know, I think it's cultural. I'm half Armenian, and when I was a kid, like the first thing I had to do when I got out of bed before I was allowed to go pee was I had to tell my grandmother what my dream was. Because the relation we have with dream, it's not like Lacan or Freud or any of this. It's a parallel reality. And in Iran, it's the same thing, and all the those culture. So we move, when we tell a story, we always, I even in our life, like, you always start from something real that happened in the real world, and you move to something that you dreamt, and you go back to real, and you know, and there's not really any difference.
Mm-hmm.
So that's, you know, that's, I guess that's the relation I have with the world. So it's in there, and also because none of this is real. I mean, you know, like the house, they invest.
Right.
Yeah, if they were really fixing it, they would fix it, and they don't fix it. And maybe, you know, maybe Luc is a ghost all through the film.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a memory, you know, because sometimes the windows are broken, sometimes they're repaired, and then they're broken again, and you know, like, so all this is really, and then I was the same. It's always. It sounds super pretentious. No, but there's lots of layers. It's, you know, one of my I love painting. I love films, but I really, really love painting. And one of my favorite is Bosch, and you can spend like month. I go very often, like, in Madrid and I still to this day like discover things, you know.
All right, we're going to take a few questions from the audience. I think there is a microphone right there.
Hi. So you talked a bit, or you both talked a bit about the construction of the film and time passing and the scope of it, and at one point Milla takes some of Leo's hair to preserve him, and I was wondering whether, like you just said, whether it took place or the whole film takes place kind of as a memory, and if you'd wondered whether her hair and or whether that came into your thinking, because we don't see the color of her hair grow out, and I wondered whether kind of you'd shot her bleaching her hair as an option, or whether that you thought about what, you know, her hair and her hair growing out could mean for the. So I'm not phrasing that very well.
Her hair? No, I don't. I don't know. No, his hair I know, but her hair. It's. I mean, we shot in like over a really long period in 3 different sessions, and so her hair changed. But I don't care. I mean, there's no, you know, there's a continuity, but there's no continuity. You go from one, even if you know, there's no script on the film that tells you, oh, she had this shirt like this, and you have to have, you know, I'm not interested in this. So the color of her hair changes, but I'm not, you know, it's not a statement. Did I understand your question correctly or not?
I think so. Yeah, I was wondering whether you thought about that because time passing.
No, because the thing is, Severine, if you really look at her, from one shot to another, her face is completely different. She goes from this like really milky sour cream, gordita, teenage girl that's unfinished, you know, to this incredibly like classical, almost like Dutch painting, and really from one shot to another in the same, you know, there's 3 movement in the film, but if you take just the love story or just the hotel or just the part with the kid, she's kind of the same physically, but the 2 other parts she changes from one. I mean, really, like her face is like this, and that's why I think it's just beautiful, because she can be really ugly. I mean, ugly, not ugly, but she can be really, and that's beautiful to me. I mean, you know, this fascist diktat that we have on woman physicality, I mean, représentation physique, is so annoying that, you know, so no, I didn't think about the bleached hair, but I did think about her face a lot, and her body.
Go here, and then there.
Thank you for making that beautiful film. It really touched my heart, and I couldn't take my eyes off 1 second. My question is, could you talk about the location? And was it the same location throughout?
Yeah, I always start from a place, actually. That's the first thing, even with my first film. So I wanted a place that had the same wilderness, was not, a nature that's not too human. But I wanted the ocean. And I know in France, the Brittany, Bretagne, but I know it very well because the other side of my family is from there. But it's very dramatic, it's very Shakespearean, the rocks are really sharp and, So, and I wanted something rounder because I'm very basic and maternity round, And I found it completely by chance that doesn't exist because I was reading something about Trauner, Alexander Trauner, who was a decorator from the 30s. He worked with everybody, like Renoir, everybody. It was wonderful. And he actually spent the last 15 years of his life with Prévert in a village. And they're buried, all of them, both family there. And I was like, oh. So I went to see. And the shot of when there's the ellipsis and she's on the stone wall and she's pregnant and he comes to take her and they leave the frame and then you have the ocean. That's the village. That's the ocean in the village where Trauner is buried with his wife Nané and Jacques Prévert. So that's how I found the place. And it was fascinating because you don't know, because there's no very structured agriculture. Like the fields are separated by very small stone walls and, So the green, the blues, everything, you don't know where the ocean starts or the field ends. It's all mixed. I mean, it all, it's beautiful. And so I decided it was going to be there.
What is the specific name of the location?
It's called La Hague. And the town is Cherbourg, and then Cherbourg is here, and then you have the point like this, and it's the closest point in France to England. It's on the English Channel, and when you're there, your mobile doesn't have anything, or when it gets, it's English, and you shouldn't use it because it costs a lot of money.
Thank you for giving me such pleasure in a theater this evening. It was so beautiful to watch your film. My question, you've already talked about the construction of time within the frame, but I wanted to ask you about beauty, because the film is so beautiful, but it's ordinary beauty in a way that doesn't idealize these working class people. And I want to know how you were able to not move into a very romantic sense of the beauty that other people have done. You've kept it so ordinary, and that's a compliment. Just want to...
Oh, I know it is. What's your name? No, I know exactly what you're saying. No, but it's very... See, it's really strange because people from a higher class, they tell you that this is romantic. They do. And it's super insulting to me because it's what you're saying. And it's very simple. There's nothing. And that's what, thank you so much for this question. I don't know. I mean, the way we work is we gather everything. Like I find the places. This I do by myself, and then I find the people. And then I go with, we're in total, we're 7 people, including my mother who cooks for all of us. I love my mother. And the way I work is I didn't go to film school, I didn't go to school, so, but I worked on other people's films, and I was really intrigued by how, like, suddenly, you know, the director wants to do this sequence that's not on the program, but he cannot do it because they don't have the dress or whatever the fuck. And to me, that's like impossible. So I get all the objects, and we have a room with everything, and we just play. And we can do whatever we feel like at every moment. And so there's very few things, you know, there are covers, sheets. I can right now make you the list of what's in there, because it's either from my house or it's things that I found at the flea market, or, you know. Because all these objects, to me, they're for real. I mean, they belong to your history, to your childhood, to your aunt, to your grandmother, to, you know, they carry history, all of them. Not where they're from, they're not from there. Does it make sense what I'm saying, or not at all? And that's it. It's basically because that's what you keep in your life. You don't need more than this. I mean, me, you know, I have a suitcase in my house, and it's next to the door, so that if my apartment burns, that's all I take. And it's all my love letters, and some photographs, and the fake Armenian birth certificate from my grandparents. You know, it's like, I don't need more in life, like, you know. I don't know if I answered. But thank you, because, you know, it's really strange, because for me it's not romantic, it's just, you know, you need something to make coffee and to cook pasta, and you need a pan, and that's all you need in life. I mean, all this bullshit is like an invention. You don't need that. You need people that you love, and you need people that you care for. You need.
We'll take one more question, one last question, if there is one in the audience, or if not, no? Okay.
Carlos, are you still here? Ah.
Okay, all right. I think we can wrap it up because it's super late, but Valerie, I want to thank you so much.
Thank you very much for saying. Thank you.